Prince Harry's darkest day.
It's almost as if his life is going steadily downhill.
She will absolutely be by Harry's side on Friday if he wins, but he's lost now. I don't think she wants to be on the arm of a loser.
He's crying into his soup.
So the children, they say, are still in California, but I did hear that they are actually in the United Kingdom. It's bad for Harry and Meghan in their marriage. Because if my husband was going through this with his family, I'd have my butt right there by his side. Where's Meghan? Where is she trying to calm Harry down with all the things that are going on for him, his difficulty?
He has been playing the will they won't they game. However, he is still leaking to his favorite media entities that he is still considering Meghan coming, maybe appearing on Friday at his Invictus event, and bringing the children over to take them straight to Althorpe to see his mother's grave.
Prince Harry stepped back onto British soil, aiming to project confidence, determination, and complete control over the narrative. Instead, the entire trip unraveled almost immediately. Within hours, his high-profile court battle had fallen apart. Buckingham Palace publicly corrected claims linked to his camp. Old private messages resurfaced and sparked fresh discussion. And as the controversy grew louder by the minute, Meghan Markle was nowhere beside him when the biggest headlines erupted. This visit was meant to feel like a carefully planned return, with every appearance seemingly designed to reinforce Harry's public image. His supporters expected a composed comeback that would shift attention toward his charitable work and future plans. Instead, everything spun in the opposite direction. So how did a visit that appeared so carefully organized end up becoming one of the most uncomfortable and damaging weeks of his public life? Harry arrived in Britain on his own, while members of his team continued hinting that Meghan and the children could possibly join him later. The uncertainty kept people talking and encouraged constant speculation across news outlets and social media. Every new appearance raised the same question about whether his family would suddenly arrive, keeping public attention locked onto the visit. Then everything changed after the High Court delivered its ruling. The legal decision immediately overshadowed nearly everything else on Harry's schedule. The Invictus message faded from the spotlight. His charity appearances quickly became secondary. Every camera and headline focused on one issue instead.
He wants to be taken as a serious character. And here you have a judgment and a judge that says you're not a very credible witness. And I think it hits. It jeopardizes his authority.
The Duke of Delusion has tried to put a smile on his face as he leaves Chatham House and new footage with a thumbs up. With a thumbs up to try and suggest that everything is okay, when we know it is far from okay.
They're not going to get those glossy headlines about the sweet reunion between Markle and the man that walked her down the aisle, King Charles.
How had Harry suffered such a decisive legal setback? The court rejected the claims brought against associated newspapers, with the judge concluding that the articles in question had been obtained through lawful sources. Many commentators described the outcome as a major defeat across the case. Harry answered with a strongly worded response, calling the judgment a complete and utter whitewash, while arguing that he believed the evidence had not been considered fairly. His reaction immediately became another major talking point, adding even more attention to an already difficult situation. That emotional statement also created a fresh challenge.
So I don't think, even though Harry's team is teasing we could get a Meghan Markle appearance on Friday, I don't think we'll see her, because when Harry's having a difficult time, Meghan doesn't want to be involved.
And I do think Meghan's way is to whip him up a bit more and make him more paranoid.
Well, yeah, you've said that in the past, that you feel that she is the person that fed this idea that he was a victim. Whilst they were frontline serving royals, she's in his ear, sort of paraphrasing, Harry, you're better than this. They're all terrible people. Let's get you out and let's have some freedom and privacy. How did that work out? This could cost Harry a lot of money, couldn't it?
Well, there's £40 million on the table.
Rather than signalling that the dispute was over, Harry appeared prepared to keep fighting. Viewers quickly noticed the contrast between his public demeanor and the legal outcome. After leaving a Chatham House event, he smiled for cameras and even gave a thumbs up. Yet behind that calm appearance was a legal setback reportedly involving overall costs reaching into the tens of millions of pounds. The exact amount each claimant may ultimately face remains uncertain, and questions surrounding insurance responsibilities have still not been fully resolved. One detail quickly became impossible to ignore. This was nothing like the triumphant moment Prince Harry had likely hoped to deliver. Instead of celebrating a courtroom success, he found himself responding to a major legal setback that completely changed the tone of his visit. The confident message many expected never arrived, and attention rapidly shifted toward another striking development. Meghan Markle was nowhere to be seen. Several royal commentators argued that the situation might have unfolded very differently if Harry had won. In their view, Meghan would likely have appeared beside him, shared in the celebration.
You know, he wants to have his children acknowledged with a photo op. He wants to take complete advantage to do what he wants to do. The girl is completely lost her mind. They say she is not just upset or a little disappointed about what happened with Harry being turned away from Buckingham Palace. She is actually furious. And let me tell you why she's furious. You want to know why she's furious? Because she wants a reason to be furious so she can say, Harry, look, I told you. Don't think about going back to the United Kingdom. We have to stay in America, because she wants to set the bar so high that makes it impossible for Harry to get it, so she doesn't have to come back. Because Harry still, I believe, wants a relationship with his family, whether he's still trying to use them for something or not. Meghan doesn't.
And helped transform the outcome into a public victory for the Sussexes. Instead, Harry lost the case, and Meghan remained entirely out of the spotlight, leaving people to wonder why her absence stood out so much during such an important week. Was that simply a coincidence, or did it match a pattern that many viewers believe they have noticed before? Some observers have pointed to previous moments when Harry faced intense public criticism, suggesting that Meghan appeared less visible during periods when negative headlines dominated the news cycle. Whether intentional or not, that perception, once again, became part of the wider conversation surrounding the visit. Royal commentator Kinsey Schofield argued that Meghan also stepped back from public view during the difficult promotional period surrounding Spare and after several other high-profile controversies involving Harry. According to that perspective, her absence during challenging moments has become something that critics frequently highlight. Whenever similar situations arise, Charlotte Griffiths took the discussion even further with a more direct observation.
Has been planning this trip since January, and for months this offer's been on the table to have a royal residence.
Which is very generous.
Very generous. And Friday was the deadline. Harry rejects the offer on Saturday, changes his mind, probably after his security team said, realistically, son, there is no safer place for you to be in London than inside Buckingham Palace.
She said that if Harry had defeated the newspaper in court, she believed Meghan would have been standing proudly beside him, declaring that they had overcome yet another opponent together. Instead, Harry addressed the public on his own while the court ruling continued dominating headlines across newspapers, television broadcasts, and online discussions. Her absence carried added significance because Harry's visit had already been described by some reports as a possible opportunity for a family reset. There were suggestions that he hoped to bring the children back to Britain, reconnect them with their father's homeland, and perhaps create a chance for King Charles to spend time with his grandchildren after such a long period apart. That possibility generated considerable public interest before the trip even began. Harry was also hoping to generate positive attention ahead of the next Invictus Games, an event that has remained one of the most important parts of his public work. But without Meghan, without the children, and without any publicly confirmed meeting with the king, the picture of a possible royal reunion faded almost as quickly as it had emerged. The optimistic narrative many expected never fully developed. Even though Meghan never appeared in Britain, her name remained deeply connected to the story. Commentators continued discussing her role, with some claiming she was unhappy about how Harry's accommodation arrangements had been handled during the visit. Others suggested she had never genuinely planned to return to London in the first place. Additional commentators argued that the security expectations connected to any visit were so extensive that making the trip would have been extremely difficult. Meghan herself has not confirmed any of those claims, but the speculation only intensified because Harry once again arrived in Britain on his own. The situation took another unexpected turn when Buckingham Palace became part of the public discussion. According to a timeline described by several royal commentators, Prince Harry had reportedly been offered accommodation at a royal residence during his visit and was given a specific deadline to confirm whether he intended to accept the arrangements. Reports indicated that Harry did not accept the offer before the deadline expired. Afterward, he reportedly changed his plans and requested a much shorter stay instead. By then, according to the palace's version of events, the original arrangements could no longer be recreated at the last minute for a single visitor after preparations had initially been organized around the possibility of accommodating Harry, his family, and members of his wider team. Palace logistics, according to commentators, involve far more planning than a standard reservation. This was never comparable to booking a room at a hotel. Security personnel, household staff, catering, transportation schedules, building access, construction restrictions, and numerous operational details all reportedly had to be coordinated well in advance. Adjusting those plans on short notice was described as a far more complicated process than many people may have realized, especially within a working royal residence that follows strict procedures. Despite that, headlines soon appeared suggesting Harry would be staying at Buckingham Palace. Shortly afterward, however, the palace publicly clarified that he would not. The conflicting reports immediately created confusion and prompted fresh questions about where the original information had come from and why the public received two very different versions of events. So who was responsible for creating that confusion? And why did Harry's team allow a story to circulate if Buckingham Palace would later issue a public correction? Those questions quickly became another major focus of royal commentary, with observers debating whether the misunderstanding could have been avoided before it reached the headlines. Charlotte Griffiths claimed that Sussex sources had previously shared information regarding meetings between Harry's advisors and advisors representing the king. According to her account, she arranged the news coverage after receiving details from the Sussex side. Later, however, reports suggested that someone within Buckingham Palace had leaked the information instead, creating a completely different public narrative. If Griffith's version of events is accurate, it raises an uncomfortable question. Was Buckingham Palace being blamed for a story that had actually been encouraged by Harry and Meghan's own communications operation? That possibility fueled even more discussion among royal commentators as competing versions continued circulating. Royal commentator Kinsey Schofield argued that the entire accommodation controversy appeared designed to make King Charles seem distant, unsympathetic, and unreasonable. Her view was straightforward. If people believed the king had withdrawn accommodation from his son at the last possible moment, Harry could once again appear publicly rejected and unfairly treated. But rather than remaining silent, Buckingham Palace departed from its usual approach and released its own version of the timeline, offering a detailed sequence of events to explain how the situation had unfolded. Only a few miles away, yet no meeting between the brothers took place. That detail alone generated fresh discussion about just how distant their relationship may have become after years of public disagreements and highly publicized tensions. Harry was also absent from the wedding of his cousin, Peter Phillips, despite their long family connection. Taken together, these moments paint the picture of someone who once occupied a central place within royal life, but now returns to Britain without a palace residence, without his brother beside him, and without Meghan accompanying him. For many commentators, that contrast has become increasingly difficult to ignore. The courtroom defeat did more than affect hopes of a family reunion. It also brought renewed attention to Harry's past through testimony involving Charlotte Griffiths, the Mail on Sunday journalist, whom Harry described during court proceedings as someone he barely knew. That evidence became another unexpected focus as the legal battle unfolded. Harry stated that he did not remember using the nickname Mr. Mischief. He also said he ended contact after learning that Griffiths was a journalist and challenged suggestions about how close their social relations. Instead of giving in to mounting pressure, King Charles reportedly stood by the palace's position, and Buckingham Palace responded publicly rather than remaining silent. That response may ultimately prove to be one of the most significant moments in this ongoing dispute. Harry has repeatedly spoken about wanting reconciliation with his family, but rebuilding damaged relationships becomes much harder when private discussions are constantly surrounded by public briefings, media reports, and competing narratives. How can Charles fully trust a private conversation if every detail could eventually become tomorrow's headline? The same question naturally extends to Prince William. How can he feel comfortable reopening the door to private family discussions if there is concern that those conversations might later appear in a memoir, a television interview, or another documentary? For many royal observers, that uncertainty continues to hang over every possibility of meaningful reconciliation. According to several commentators, the royal family is no longer worried only about disagreements. They are also concerned about becoming part of an ongoing public storyline. Tina Brown famously described the dispute as a Cold War, arguing that many members of the family have gradually moved on with their lives, even while King Charles may still hope that some form of reconciliation remains possible in the future. One report even claimed that Harry's name reportedly never surfaced during an extended conversation between Prince William and one of his longtime friends. There were no public arguments, dramatic exchanges, or emotional confrontations. Instead, commentators suggested something very different: silence. That kind of emotional distance can sometimes speak louder than open conflict, and some believe it may be far more difficult to overcome. During part of Harry's visit, William was reportedly "I had actually been." Those statements became another closely examined part of the case, with both supporters and critics debating what they revealed about the wider dispute. The controversy intensified even further when previously unseen private messages were brought into the courtroom discussion. Charlotte Griffiths testified that it was Harry who first contacted her through Facebook messages. According to the exchanges presented during the case, Harry addressed her as Griff, responded to the nickname Mr. Mischief, shared his personal telephone number, and even wrote that he missed their movie snuggles. Griffiths explained that the phrase movie snuggles referred to a group of friends watching a film together after a party, rather than anything romantic or secretive. Even with that clarification, many observers noted that the friendly and relaxed tone of those conversations appeared difficult to reconcile with Harry's courtroom description of how limited their relationship had supposedly been. That contrast quickly became another major talking point surrounding the case. The judge described Griffiths as an impressive witness and accepted her explanation of how she had obtained the information discussed during the proceedings. Griffiths also stated that she never wanted the private messages to become public and said she would never have published them if Harry had not chosen to take the newspaper to court. That detail immediately caught widespread attention. Harry had launched legal action over alleged invasions of privacy, yet the legal proceedings themselves resulted in years-old private conversations becoming public evidence for everyone to examine. Griffiths also described the Harry she remembered as fun, friendly, approachable, and at times even lonely. She recalled someone who attended parties, spoke openly with people around him, and maintained friendly relationships with journalists he knew socially. Her testimony challenged the broader claim that every personal story written about Harry must have originated through unlawful methods. In her view, some information simply came from ordinary conversations between Harry and people within his own social circle. That was exactly why the messages attracted so much attention. Harry's legal case relied heavily on the argument that those close to him were not sharing private information and that journalists could not have obtained certain details through normal social interactions. However, The messages presented in court appeared to paint a more complicated picture, one that critics argued raised additional questions about those assumptions. His own memoir had already described a lively and highly social lifestyle during earlier years. The friendly messages introduced during the trial, combined with Griffith's testimony, prompted further debate about whether Harry's later description of those relationships reflected the full picture. Griffith suggested that the version of events presented publicly was more carefully controlled than the person she remembered knowing years before. Then, Meghan unexpectedly became part of the courtroom narrative in another way. The newspaper articles at the center of Harry's evidence focused on relationships and events that occurred long before he met Meghan, including his past relationship with Chelsea Davy. Even so, Harry became emotional while discussing the case and referred to the impact he believed those events had on his present life with Meghan, bringing his current family into a dispute rooted in much earlier chapters of his life. Another debate quickly emerged as commentators questioned why Meghan had become part of a legal dispute involving stories published years before she and Harry met. Harry had returned to Britain to challenge reporting connected to a former relationship, then lost the case while Meghan remained in California. Of course, no one outside their marriage knows what was said privately, but many observers wondered how she viewed seeing those events revisited so publicly during another major legal battle. Financial concerns also became part of the discussion. Reports placed the overall legal costs in the tens of millions, although Harry's personal responsibility and the role of insurance remain unclear. Coming after the end of major media deals and ongoing security expenses, commentators questioned how many more legal battles the Sussex brand could sustain. Harry had hoped to focus attention on the Invictus Games, but the court defeat overshadowed much of that message. Commentators argued that the legal battle and ongoing royal speculation became bigger headlines than the event itself. That does not diminish Invictus, which remains an important project supporting wounded and injured veterans and one of Harry's most widely recognized achievements. Even Harry's first public appearance sparked another debate after he attended an event connected to photographer Mizan Harriman, a longtime friend of Harry and Meghan who has faced criticism over political posts before later stepping down from a role at the South Bank Centre. The discussion quickly shifted again as commentators questioned the optics of Harry's latest appearance after his previous comments about anti-Semitism in Britain. While the event may have been intended as support for a friend, it immediately generated fresh political debate. That pattern came to define much of the trip. Harry hoped to highlight Invictus, but the court ruling dominated coverage. He sought reconciliation, yet public disagreements over palace arrangements and Meghan's absence became the main headlines instead. Meanwhile, King Charles continued carrying out official duties. Reports suggested he remained open to seeing Harry and his grandchildren, but was unwilling to set aside established procedures. Commentators argued that balancing the responsibilities of a father and a monarch is not always straightforward. Questions also continued surrounding Meghan's absence. Critics noted that while speculation about a royal reunion attracts global attention, she was not present during one of Harry's most difficult public moments. Every new explanation appeared to generate another question, keeping Meghan at the center of a visit she never attended. Some reports even suggested she could appear outside London, prompting further debate over why other locations in Britain would be considered acceptable if London was viewed as unsuitable. Would a visit to Princess Diana's resting place have remained completely private, or would it have become another defining image in the Sussex story? Even though no appearance was confirmed, the speculation alone shifted attention once again. Instead of focusing on Harry's official engagements, the conversation quickly returned to Meghan, the royal family, and what might happen next. Before long, the discussion surrounding the visit had become less about Harry's official schedule and more about the unanswered questions that continued following the Sussexes wherever they went. As Harry prepares to return to California, he may be carrying more than the disappointment of a courtroom defeat. Questions now surround nearly every part of the visit. He must decide whether to continue the legal fight through an appeal or finally move on. At the same time, he faces the challenge of keeping the Invictus Games from being overshadowed by constant attention on his personal life. Meghan's absence also became a major talking point, with commentators offering different theories about why she stayed away, though she has not publicly addressed those claims. Whether those theories are accurate or not, they continue to dominate discussion across royal commentary throughout the week. Perhaps the biggest setback was not simply losing the case, but losing control of the narrative. Harry has long argued that newspapers distorted his life and invaded his privacy. Yet this legal battle brought old private messages into the public spotlight. A visit that was expected to focus on service and charity instead became dominated by legal disputes, palace statements, and renewed royal tensions. Even events that were intended to highlight charitable work struggled to compete with the constant stream of headlines surrounding the court case and palace developments. Speculation about Meghan's possible arrival also continued throughout the trip. As the visit went on without her appearing, attention shifted away from Harry's official work and toward questions about her absence. Whether intentional or not, that became one of the biggest stories of the week. Every day without an appearance seemed to generate another round of commentary, leaving the public to debate what her absence really meant and whether it carried any deeper significance. So where does the story go from here? Will Harry continue pursuing legal battles, or will he finally turn the page? Could King Charles still agree to a private meeting despite everything that has happened? And has Prince William's silence already signaled the direction the royal family intends to take? Those questions are likely to remain part of the conversation long after this visit has ended. Harry arrived in Britain hoping to highlight meaningful causes and rebuild family ties. Instead, the court ruled against his case. Buckingham Palace publicly clarified the accommodation dispute, and Invictus found itself competing with headlines about legal battles and royal drama. Whether this proves to be a temporary setback or a lasting turning point remains to be seen. What is clear is that this visit generated far more discussion about family tensions and legal troubles than about the charitable work Harry hoped to promote. Now it's your turn. Do you think Meghan was right to stay away, or should she have stood beside Harry during one of the most difficult moments of his visit? Do you think Harry can still rebuild trust with King Charles and Prince William after this latest chapter? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd really like to know where you stand on this story and whether you think the relationship between Harry and the royal family can still be repaired. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.